I'm the Home Slice, Ascend Hyperion, and today we need to have a talk. You see, when an ODST and a thick elite love each other very much, I'm just kidding. But hey, fair warning for the rest of the video, as you can probably hear, I'm not feeling too well. But I am feeling well enough to talk to you about the interesting, highly advanced, and yet strangely disappointing map design of Halo Infinite. I want to discuss how in this game, 343 has taken a deeper step into the sterility of modern FPS map design, all while mixing in maps that are intentionally designed to imitate classic Halo map designs to a fault even. The real OGS and Hyperion fans know map design is how I started, so buckle in as I dust off my map design expert hat and be sure you stick around for my viewer question at the end. Let me give a shout out to today's sponsor and let's get started. Today's video is sponsored by Vite Ramen. You all know I love comparing objective facts on this channel, and what's the next best thing to discuss besides gaming? Insta Ramen. Vite Ramen is the healthy alternative to Insta Ramen, and is the objective better option if you're seeking to combine the ease of Insta Ramen with the benefits of a nutritional meal. With up to a quarter or a third of your daily intake of key nutrients like vitamin C, calcium, zinc, potassium, and so much more, the winning option couldn't be more clear. And today I want to set you up with access to my exclusive Vite Ramen discount and my partnered Vite Ramen bundle. All you need to do is use my special link in the description or pinned comment and you'll be on your way to healthier, more complete Insta Ramen. Vite Ramen is a product created by longtime Halo fans and is produced on sustainable means and fair living wages. So like I said, use my link in the description or pinned comment and get Vite Ramen for yourself today. So before we really unpack the map design of Infinite, there are some basic map design concepts we need to understand first. One of those major ideas regards how the goals of map design in shooter games has changed over the last 20 years. To paraphrase and simplify, 20 years ago, design wasn't as serious as it is now. Now, I'm not saying map designers were less skilled or cared less. What I'm saying is the skill sets were different and the designers cared about different things. FPS maps almost 2 decades ago were far more influenced by the goals of creating memorable, experience-centric play spaces for which players to interact in. As time has passed, creating experiences as parts of the maps has fallen off as a primary design goal and has been supplemented by ensuring maps have balanced and easily perceived designs. The other big thing we need to consider is how players' perceptions of maps have changed as well. I kinda just hinted at this, but shooter titles, for better or for worse, have become far more competitive over the last 2 decades, and we're to the point now that if a shooter title doesn't have massive considerations for competitive play, gamers themselves will eject shooter titles. Now, don't misunderstand, I'm not saying all gamers do that, I'm saying enough gamers do that to make it an issue. You then have to couple that with the growing influence of content creators who can and will callously pass judgment on games, so it's very easy these days for a personal opinion of a content creator to get escalated by their fandom, and then that personal opinion becomes an issue the game dev has to act upon. With all that being said, let me sum it up like this. Basically, map design is different now than it was 20 years ago, and the influence of gamers over the games they play has also greatly increased. This is all to prepare you for the fact that in this video, I'm going to compare Infinite to its sister titles, and I want you to understand that at no point am I simply saying one thing is better than the other. Okay, let's talk about Halo Infinite. The high-level review for me is that Infinite is trying to have the best of both worlds and only kinda pulling it off. By that I mean Infinite is trying to have over-designed, highly competitive, and experientially simplistic maps, all while in the same stroke trying to mix in a few maps directly reflective of map design quirks from previous Halos. Conceptually, you'd think this is a great idea. Everyone gets what they want, right? Not so much. Let's talk about these two types of maps separately first. The competitive maps. The layouts of the typical arena maps in Infinite are simple, mostly being either 3-lane layouts or 2-base, 2-tower layouts. These two layouts are fairly common not just in Halo, but in shooters in general, and are easy for players to learn and play. They are often considered very fair and are very generic layouts that competitive players clamor over and demand, especially in Halo. Infinite, however, has a major flaw in my mind of being a game that is terrified of downtime. By that I mean time you spend not in combat. Infinite is constantly trying to force you into a fight, whether it be by literally pathing you directly into enemies, or by removing the map design elements that would have otherwise separated spaces and allowed you to sneak away from fights. A big contributor to this lack of downtime in Infinite is just how crushingly open and long the general map sightlines are in Infinite. Basically, no matter where you are on an Infinite map, someone is able to see you, even if you can't see them. Even if you're at your spawn, which is technically supposed to be one of your most secure play locations, you are constantly exposed to other players. But even in the isolated occasions Infinite gives you room or corridors to slink into, those spaces are designed to literally be grenade pockets. Super easy for your enemies or you to just sink nades in for easy kills. Here's a live fire. Generic 3-lane map setup where I literally have access to all 3 lanes from virtually one spot. In the clip here, I am of course the aggressor, but the inverse example is that what if I was simply trying to pass through this space on downtime after killing an enemy? I'd be exposed to literally all 3 of the map's main sightlines at once. And even worse, if I was passing through any of the 3 lanes, I'd be exposed to anyone doing what I'm showing here on the screen. The map Catalyst is this issue, but times 10. It's baffling to me how there is virtually no protected space on this map. So much of that walking into the center of Catalyst is basically signing up to get team shotted to death. Fundamentally, Aquarius, Bazaar, Catalyst, Livefire, Streets, and Recharge are well enough made maps. They are highly pointed in their designs and extremely focused on delivering consistent and competitive experiences, but their simple, basically mundane nature, coupled with their open sightlines and claustrophobic enclosed spaces, makes them exhausting to play. Now, don't get me wrong, these types of maps 100% deserve to be in the game. They have function and purpose for competitive players, but you need to be able to rev down the gameplay experience because not all players actually want that level of near non-existent downtime in play. It's in dejection of casual play, which Infinite is struggling very hard to capture right now. 343 in part probably recognized this and attempted to capture the more traditional and casual gameplay within the next style of map we're going to discuss, which I'll call the classic imitations. Launch Site and Behemoth are the black sheep maps within Infinite's arena rotation, and by my analysis are both very intentional attempts by 343 to formulaically imbue Infinite with map design quirks prevalent in the original Halo trilogy. One of those quirks shared between the two is the return of vehicles to 4v4 gameplay, which was a call sign of classic Halo map design. There are several angles to analyze this from, but the one that sticks out the most to me is my belief that vehicles represent the 4th tier of Halo's combat sandbox and can be used in supplement or complement to tier 3 power weapons. They also allow maps to sport less generic combat spaces and layouts, as the addition of vehicles creates layout consideration for them. Not to mention that the natural inclusion of vehicles in small teams modes is a quirk almost exclusive to Halo, and basically no other FPS executes including vehicles in arena experiences as well as Halo does. Unfortunately, Halo Reach started the trend of removing vehicles from 4v4 experiences, and we've been without it ever since. Now, the other major thing these maps do that separates them is within their layouts. Launch Site is an asymmetric base defense style layout, and functionally Behemoth is a donut layout, but we'll come back to that. It's very well worth noting that the asym base defense style map has gone untouched since Halo Reach's Spire, but fundamentally, Launch Site is more akin to Halo 3's High Ground. I understand that some players dislike this style of map, but honestly, I think seeing it return to Halo has been a stellar reminder that not all maps have to be simple, dummy-proof layouts with balance of play being paramount. There is something both uniquely frustrating and rewarding about the base defense style map, and I think part of why it gets so much limelight in Infinite is because it's the only map, honestly, breaking the cage other arena maps have been put in this game. On the flip side of this assertion, however, is Behemoth, which in a similar way is reconnecting Infinite with simplistic, location-driven style maps you'd have played in Halo CE or Halo 2, but the difference with Behemoth though is that despite its roots in classic design, simply too much time has passed for this design to be acceptable in the modern market. No matter how much we acknowledge its simple and nostalgic design, we as players have come to expect a certain baseline of performance and balance in map design, and when we're deprived of that, we seek no compromise. The compounded effect is that Behemoth and Launch Site were both supposed to harken back to old designs, but since we no longer acknowledge Behemoth's design as valid for modern play, it gets rejected, and the more aggressive critique rests on Launch Site, as players then try to apply that same analysis to it. In summary, Infinite is trying to play both sides. It knows it needs to appeal to competitive players, and it knows it can benefit from slipping in classic design quirks. But I think 343 has accidentally forgotten that there are designs that exist between these two goals, and that they are critical for creating multiplayer experience that is both varied and interesting. It comes down to what I mentioned earlier. Infinite is struggling, if not failing, to offer a casual gameplay experience, and the end result is a gameplay experience that is exhausting. Whether it be via the constant requirement that you have to play in overly competitive map designs, or from the dynamic swing you experience when you play on maps where quirks control the experience, the maps themselves are all technically good in the sense that they check off the generic items that modern FPS maps have to meet, but for me that does not correlate to an instantly good gameplay experience. I'd like to see 343 and Forgers in the future explore what a casual map design in Halo Infinite looks like, because it's up until this point virtually unexplored, and if executed properly could be the missing link between Infinite's success and the portions of the fanbase seeking to simply play Halo with no strings attached. For today's viewer question, let's ponder this. What maps from any previous Halo title do you think best embody the concepts of casual map design? Why do you think that? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. That's gonna do it for this video. I'm gonna go take some cold medicine. Be sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not, and follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.